Good evening, students. Welcome back to Issues in Media Communication course. So now we are changing the delivery mode into online because now we are going through a difficult situation. We are forced to close our classes, stop our classes, and the exam will be conducted as per the scheduled time. So we have to finish our lectures before that. That's why the ministry decided to go online. So as part of the decision, we will upload the videos or audios in the Blackboard. So do watch the videos properly, and if you have any doubts in any part of the lectures, you can contact me either through my WhatsApp number or email. I will give you that my WhatsApp number and email in the Blackboard so that you can contact. And I hope that you enjoy the vacation. So just find some time to go through the lectures. We are on week 7. It's about consumerism. We have discussed half of that lecture. We have discussed what is consumerism and theorizing consumerism, the Bauman's theory on consumerism. Now we have to discuss the opponents of consumerism and problems with consumerism. Before we go into our lecture, here are the recaps of week 6. It was about war propaganda. So we have discussed in detail about war propaganda, how the different propaganda tools used by United States during the First World War as well as after the September 11 attack. So I don't want to discuss more about that. So this also we discussed what is consumerism. Consumerism, as we know that it is basically equates happiness with having more things. So consumerism is a mindset of people that buying and using more and more products will brings them happy. That is why we buy more and more product, taking loans and buy and using more and more product. I have discussed about the difference between needs and wants in the last class. Needs means our essential basic needs to satisfy our basic needs. Wants means the desires. So now the people, especially in our contemporary world, led by the desires, means the wants. We are not satisfied with what we have now. You may have one mobile phone, but you are not satisfied with that one. When you see a new version or a new mobile phone. So sometimes that's why people having more than one. We know that we can satisfy our needs with one mobile phone itself. You just think of how many features you use in that mobile phone that you already have. Maybe quite few features. Maybe to take pictures or to chat or to call. And we are actually paying for the features which we never use. So this is the case. We don't bother about the money we spend on unnecessary things. We just think that buying new and new things will give us happiness. This mindset is called consumerism. Means buying more and more things with the belief that that will give us more happiness. The Webster's dictionary defines consumerism as the belief that the increasing consumption of goods is economically desirable. So here you can see, when you go through this definition, you can see that it's in a positive term. Increasing consumption of goods is economically desirable. So it is good for the economy. Why it is good for the economy? We have discussed that aspect because when people buy more and more products, when we consume more, then only there will be more production in the economy. in the society, because when we consume more, there will be demand for more goods. You just think of the present situation. Now, when the corona disease spread in the world, here in our country also, the demand for hand sanitizers increased. Scarcity of hand sanitizers we faced. So what happened? The demand for sanitizers increased. As a result, it's when the demand increases, the production will increase. Companies will increase more production. So what I'm saying is that consumerism will lead to increasing demand for such a kind of products. When we use more and more products, will lead to more demand for such kind of products, and that will lead to more production. So more consumption lead to more demand lead to more production. To produce more, what needed? The companies need more laborers, more workers. So more production hence will lead to or more create more employment opportunities. So that will create more job opportunities. So the people will get more jobs. When they get more job, they get more salary, more income. And when people get more income, definitely their their purchasing power or the buying power will increase. They spend more, means they consume more. When they consume more, again demand will increase for such kind of products. Means this consumerist mindset will have a a vicious cycle effect. The economy will develop, more production will have, more economic development activities will happen in the society. That is it explained here. This is based on the idea that people need to buy things in order for an economy to work. Without consumers, there is no point in making anything. If you don't spend money, if you don't consume, if you don't buy, there is no point of making more. So we see that there can be a perfectly reasonable basis for consumerist point of view, very positive justification. But our concern is the negative consequence of consumerism, how it negatively affects the society. That is our focus in this lecture. So, but when this point of view dominates a society, this consumerist point of view, people have a tendency to buy and buy more product. What it results? It creates some negative effects. The ever-increasing desire to have more things changed the way in which people thought about themselves and the way in which Western society was structured. So that is the negative side we are going to highlight in this lecture. The ever-increasing desire to have more and more things. You just think of our own mindset. You may have a mobile phone. How long you have used that mobile phone? Maybe 2 years or 3 years. But now you will have a tendency to change it. How many chappals you have? One chappal itself is maybe enough, 1 or 2 chappals. Chappals means sandals, shoes. Maybe enough for you to, satisfy your needs. But we have lots of such kind of items. This is what we call the desire, increasing desire to have more and more things, changed the way in which people thought. So that changed the way of people think, people value, and the way in which Western society was structured with such kind of mindset. So as we studied before, the advertising or other aspects, here as well, this consumers theory is also mostly focused on the Western society. So before we move into the negative effects of consumerism, we have to study the theories relating to consumerism. So it is Zygmunt Bauman studied consumerism, and he starts his inquiries with the notion of the work in the Western society. He studied the concept of work in the Western European societies, and he finds that the most important part of social life is used to be the work that people did, or in other words, their role as producers. 70% of their waking life was spent at work. It means that in the early period, in 1950s or 60s, people spent their, major part. It says that his studies shows that 70% of their waking lives. We know that 24-hour a day, we have 24-hour a day. Of that, 8 hours normally we spend for sleeping. The rest, how much left? 16 hours. And of that 16 hours, maybe 2 or 3 or 4 hours we use for, meeting our basic needs. So this 16 hours is our waking life. So 70% of 16 hours means somewhat around 11.5 hours, 11.2 or 3 hours. That much time means nearly half of the total day we spend in that period, people spend on work, means to make money in their jobs. So Bauman contrasts that situation with the current situation in Western countries, where now very few people would spend 70% of their waking life at work. So early period, people were spent more time to earn money to meet their needs, to buy things. Now people spend quite few time on work, and people are less defined now by work ethic and more likely to be defined what they consume. So in the early society, what Bauman says that people were recognized by their work. They get social status. They get a recognition based on what they work, like a teacher, as a doctor, as an engineer, or as a scientist, or as a farmer. They have their own identity based on their work. But now people get social status not because of what job they have. Instead of that, they get the social status, or they get their identity lies on what they consume. It means that just you think of the present situation, maybe a person may get so respect based on what vehicle he has. If he has a Benz car, if he has such a kind of a luxurious car, if he is having a a big bungalow, if he wears a good costume, very costly costume, or maybe such kind of costly luxurious items gives people respect and identity. Now, most people in the West choose to borrow money in order to purchase the things they want now. So what is the consequence when people are recognized by the material what they have? Everyone will try to, even if they don't have the money to buy that, people borrow money, take bank loans to construct big houses so as to get a social status. So this consumerist mindset, that is one of the negative aspect, negative consequence of consumerism. We will study that. So people may borrow money in order to buy such things. So that may eventually leads them into debt trap or such kind of tension, social issues. We know that the reason behind the increasing crime rate in the society is because of this kind of mindset. People are crazy for luxurious life. So people may sometimes even, go for such crimes, murder, killing, to even robbery and theft for getting more and more money. This is the result of consumers. So what is the consequence of this kind of consumer thinking? Berman says that in a producer society, means in the previous past society, poverty was related to lack of work and physical want. So he defines poverty with these two comparisons. Means in early period, poverty related to lack of work. What is poverty? Being poor. So that is related to a lack of work to physical want. Means if a person doesn't have a job to meet the physical want. What are the physical want? Means the want of our body. Means food for hunger, shelter or house for shelter, and of course clothes. These are our physical needs. So if a person doesn't have money to meet these needs, he was considered as poor in the early period. But now in a consumer society, poverty relates to the ways in which people feel about themselves in comparison to other people they see and know. So it is a comparative. The poverty now changed which people feel about themselves in comparison with others. You may have money, you may have house, you may have all the enough money to meet your physical want. But suppose if you are living in a posh area and when your neighbors having all the luxurious things, you will be considered as poor. You may have a house, a small house maybe, and you may have a car, even a small car. But your neighbors are so luxurious, so rich and affluent, you feel that you are poor in comparison with others. This is the mindset, or this is the mindset of, or what I say, the poverty is related in a consumer society. So in the past, people would use an item until it stopped working. So what changed from when people move from a producer society to consumer society? In the past, people would use an item until it stopped working. You just think of a mobile phone, or people, you just think of the life of your fathers or grandparents. They used items until it stopped working. But now many people buy new things before the old ones have stopped working. The best example is your mobile phone. And you think of your cosmetic items, the clothes, how many clothes you have. So we throw it, or we won't use an item until it stop works. We change with the new ones. We buy new one and replace with the old one. So this is why Western society is sometimes called a throwaway society. So Bauman calls the Western society the consumerist society that changes, items quite frequently, throwing away and buying the new one. So that is why it is called the modern society, or the Western society is called a throwaway society. So sometimes the question may be why Western society is called a throwaway society. Then you have to explain this aspect. People have a tendency to use an item or to replace an item before it stops working. So now we move to our focus the important area of this lecture, the opponents of consumerism, means the negative effects of consumerism. So here, the perceived negative effects of consumerism are broken into three separated but related areas. So it can be three areas we can categorize the negative effects: social, economic, and environmental effects. So this is very important from the exam point of view. If the question is to explain the perceived negative effects of consumerism, you have to write this and explain these three negative points: social, second one economic, and third one is environmental. So what is the social consequence or social effects? How it negatively affects the society? The main social problem with consumerism is that it is based or leads to materialism. This means that people start to value things more than they value people or relationship. So what is materialism? Materialism is a belief that having money and possessions is the most important thing in life. So it's a belief, a mindset that people believe that having money and possess more and more items is the most important thing in life. So people value materials, or what we call the items, consumable items. And this means that people start to value things. So people get what is a give respect such people having more and more items. So the negative effects, how it negatively affect the society if people having such mindset. I told you, people get respect based on what they have. So that their identity lies on what they have, not their educational level, not their virtues or moral values. Instead of that, even if that person, his character is bad, he will get a good social status, he will get a social respect just because he is a rich man having a very luxurious items. Just think of the present world. Those the so-called celebrities, are they good? Maybe they don't have even the basic education, or morally they may be very weak. Still they have such a kind of high social status. This is because of the materialism. And I told you that may leads to this kind of, when people value things, that may leads to increasing crime rate or murders or killings, etc. in the society. Because to buy more and more things, those people who doesn't have money, they will try to get it through any means. Any means, and they may be ready even for to kill others, to rob others, to get money and buy more and more things. So that is the social consequence of consumerism. Now second one is the negative effects of consumerism. So the negative effects means, this is the idea that consumerism encourages producers to make goods of less than perfect quality. So this is the highlight. Producers make, in such consumer societies, producers make goods of less than perfect quality. Less quality or cheap quality product. We are very familiar with the China-made product. So China-made items itself is known, for less quality or cheap quality product. Because as we studied before, we are having a throwaway culture. We don't use an item for long. Maybe after 1 or 2 years we change. So we don't bother about the lifespan of a durability of a product. So the companies also produce cheaper product with a less price with less durability, and people buy such kind of product. You just think of the shops here in Sur, the Shaheen or Sur gift market, which sell cheaper products, and you just think of just observe the sales in such kind of shops. Such shops are more demanding, more what I say, successful shops in Sur. Why it is? Because people having that such kind of mindset, they know that they don't use such a durable product. They don't bother about the quality of the products. So as a result, in such societies, the products having less quality, and of course that may be even sometimes that may be harmful for the health. And the third consequence is the environmental consequence. So when this kind of cheap less quality product are more, that may lead to environmental issues as well, such a throwaway culture. If you don't use such products for more time or more for more years, and when we throw this to the environment, it creates environmental issues. So all the products that are thrown away need to go somewhere, and sometimes, like with mobile phones, their waste can be very harmful. We have heard of the global warming or ozone depletion, such kind of environmental issues. What are the major reasons behind that? One of the major reason is that it is what we called as a result of the e-waste, electronic waste, that we throw the mobile phones. The mobile phone battery is very harmful, very dangerous to the environment. And the researchers shows that the main reason of ozone depletion is the gas, the chlorofluorocarbon, or in short the CFC gas emitted from the fridges that we throw into the garbage. So the computers or mobile phones, such kind of electronic waste create loads of environmental issues as well. So this lecture is very important, that the consequences, negative consequences. Now we move to the problems with the consumerism. So there are mainly two problems when we study consumerism. These problems with the idea that consumerism creates issues in media communication. The first problem is with the consumerism. When we study consumerism and the role of media, is that we need to recognize that many people enjoy the freedom to consume things and to spend the money as they see fit. It's not necessarily a negative thing to do this. We know that people have their own, because they have the freedom. When you work and get a salary, it is your wish, it is your discretion to decide to spend on what you wish. It is your personal freedom. You have the personal choice to consume what things you feel happy, you suit better. So it is not necessarily a negative things to do, because why we work to get money and we spend on such items that gives us pleasure. So actually, in a way, there is nothing wrong in that. The second criticism or second problem with the studying consumerism is we need to prove the effects of media in order to show that consumerism is responsible for negative events. So when we study the effects of media, how can we prove that consumerism is, or the media is responsible for these negative effects of consumerism? It is not enough to simply think that they are linked. There may be many other reasons. And we have studied that consumerism, in a way, it is good or desirable for the economy as well. So media of course plays a role in creating such kind of consumerist mindset that dominates the society. When consumerist mindset dominates the society, then it creates certain consequences, as we studied, that the economic, social or environmental consequences. But we cannot say that it is just because of media. Media is one of the thing. There are some other uh, cause or other factors as well to think about. So these are all about this lecture. So here in this lecture we studied what is consumerism, theorizing consumerism, opponents of consumerism, and problems with consumerism. Okay, thank you.